couldn't figure it out. So also in terms of innovation, we were talking about the whole entitlement of innovation, like when when you decide like, okay, I don't care, I'm going to innovate, and I'm going to innovate, I'm going to take some elements of a tradition, and it's like I'm going to fuck with it. That's like fuck it. I am an artist, and a contemporary artist. I'm going to do whatever I want. But what are the repercussions of that? What or also the culture of the police. How do you call it? The police culture, the culture of police. Yeah, that. Yeah, like who decides? If I cannot do that, or I can do that. And one of the interesting things that Luis Valverde, I think it's Luis Valverde, I'm sorry if I am pronouncing it, I am saying the wrong last name. He was saying that in order to go to this innovation process, it needs to have certain kind of deep knowledge of that particular tradition. I mean, you need to be embedded. You need to really go through that process. That it takes time, maybe years. I don't know how many years, 10, 20, I don't know. But I think it creates some kind of validity, validation to the community, because we know that tradition is based on community. It's not like in contemporary art, like who we are, most of us, that it's very individualistic. I am a choreographer, I am contemporary art, I think everything. This is my choreography, this is my project. In tradition, you need to deal with the community. It's based on the relationship with the community. That I thought that was really interesting to figure it out. Also, we talk about the function of criticism, and one of the things that I found out that we are in a crisis, in a critical crisis in San Francisco, because we don't have that kind of discourse in reviewing work that it brings some kind of help us to articulate or help to make better choices in our work. So we felt that we found some people in the table who were giving some suggestions of how we can figure out that. Maybe do a blog and do a communal critical review and post it in the internet specifically for a specific project. Anyway, I'm talking too much, I'm sorry. I just got some wine and it's just like...
All right. Next, the court. Oh, thank you. After you, yes.
I'll intercept while you're going around.
Yeah. I'll just intercept because I'm kind of related to Jose's question. This is kind of loud. So we were talking about kind of when there's a gap between the audience and the tradition that's being presented, and there's so many things, like it's either culture, community, religion, history that's missing from the presentation that is inherent in that art form, but the audience won't understand. And does that even matter? And I think from our discussions, like a lot of people had both views, which I don't want to say is opposite. They probably can coexist. But one view is that no, it doesn't matter. There's some universal aspect of dance, the pure physicality, pure passion, kind of someone to the performative quality. I like that, like how committed the performer is to that performance, that the place, the time, and everything. That you don't really need to understand what they're talking about, what story they're saying. It just is. It will speak to you in that way. But then the other side of that is that no, we want to know. We want to have the full discussion. We want to have the full brochure notes, the full the artists actually come out and just describe everything, their whole thought process. Like, this is the story that I'm talking about. This is why it's interesting. This is all the subtleties of it that I'm really trying to bring out and that are really interesting about this. And I mean, we didn't really come up with any solutions. Obviously, that would be too easy. But it was really interesting to see these two sides come out, where some people were like, well, yeah, in some cases it doesn't matter what it is, but in other cases, like, no, I want to know everything about it, and then how to bridge that gap. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's something we've been thinking about a lot at Counterculture Performing Diaspora. Let's hear this table over here.
Hi, so we were looking at new media and globalization and some old media too. And in the first two groups, it was kind of interesting because there did seem to be this kind of general agreement. It's a little simplistic, but that increased access period is good. And I think we still felt like that in the third group, but over the course of the conversations, we had begun to identify some of the issues that came up through the fact we talked about some dance shows, about the fact that there's increased possibility for the homogenization of dance forms through emphasis on flashier, more poppy dances, and we also discussed. There was also some discussion about learning cultural traditions through things like Skype or YouTube, and there seemed to be pretty general agreement that just isn't doable. That you need to have a teacher, you need to have someone saying that you're not doing it right now, and but that there is a lot of really fantastic. Again, to come back to access, that someone who doesn't live in the Bay Area can find out that millions of people know what Kathak dance is, or know the term at least. They don't know what it is necessarily, and that's another issue. And the problem. But the base is there. And that's maybe something that we can celebrate right now, that we're at the beginning of this new explosion of interest and of creation, but we need to be concerned about what path that takes. There's a lot of other stuff too. I'm going to let someone else speak.
Anyone else at this table?
Well, we spoke a lot about YouTube. Is YouTube good for us or is it bad for us? And it seems that it's both, not a surprise. And that you can have the example of Patrick Nkwakane did his Hula Hit and Run, thanks to Dancers Group, and that one of their performances got 87,000 hits. So the context of who your audience is really changes. It's not the intended audience, and when you put out your art anywhere, you're putting it out for anyone to receive, but it has huge implications when it's 87,000 for maybe your 3-minute performance. What does that mean? We don't know, and are we celebrating it, or is it? Who knows what that means? There's so much that we don't know, except that it's an explosion that feels kind of exciting. And then our last table really was about not sacrificing that personal relationship that you have with a teacher. And particularly, it really seemed to hit home around that time in one's dance life where you learn to improvise. And how do you learn to improvise? You learn to improvise really by relationship and relationship to space or teachers. And that seemed to be a whole other level that maybe you cannot learn from media. So,
Final group.
We talk about identity and access to use of traditional form, and we share experience based on where you